All right, cool. So we're just gonna dive in. This is bonus. So we do whatever I
Here we are.
want. Have you guys ever used Enrollments before?
I have.
Yeah.
I have
You did that one time. Cool.
honestly never.
So if you want, Diana has some in the back that you can borrow, and later if you desire to add to the Diana fund, you can purchase them. She made them for you guys. So just go in the back, grab one that you like, and
In the breaths.
then we'll use that one. I'll teach you some cool stuff.
So that you probably wouldn't hear.
I have like two. One of them quite. Make sure I'm not by it because I can control it.
Yeah, that one's definitely no. Well, it's just.
This one called my name.
Sounds good.
It's pretty.
Well, I'm excited, even though it's early. You guys are probably like, catch up. It's gonna be worth it, so.
Surprised not as many people.
I know, I thought there was gonna be almost everybody.
I did too, but I guess
Because it was too early. It's too much fun. I'm gonna tell you, I wasn't emotionally prepared for that game, for that money game, but I did learn a lot. It broke my heart again and again, though, and somebody gave me more than I gave them, and I was like, I don't want to take this. But,
that's awesome.
yeah, I was not ready for that. I was like, well, everybody's gonna give one for one the whole game, you know, that's, I was like, and everybody's gonna make it.
Love it.
But, somebody gave me everything they had. It was like 3, and I was like, what? I gave you 1, like.
That's cool. All right. So, dowsing. Let's debunk all the myths first. Dowsing is good. So I'll just debunk the myths that you'll hear later down the road. It doesn't matter what pendulum you have, okay? The only time you ever need to wash it is if it falls in the mud. You don't have to wash it under full moon and like, woo, hocus pocus, magic, all that junk. So if anyone ever tells you about that, then you should probably not listen to them and turn these. What dowsing is, it's an asset to common sense. That's all it is. However, our common sense, most of our common sense can be altered with new knowledge. So a lot of things that you think we can't do, you can. You just haven't, no one's told you you could. So you went to the wrong school. Something like that, you know? And so I grew up and I didn't really know a whole lot about it, but my dad, he would teach us certain things about how to check stuff on maps and figure out where things are and lost items. It was really cool. Like you could just find stuff that you lost. And that was pretty much the extent. And then a lot of things with food and checking the varieties of food and if they're good for you or if they're not, and a lot of stuff around health. These past couple of years, as I've been diving into learning more about this, I have a mentor who, that's all he does is teach dowsing. And he's been doing it for over 20, 30 years. And so he's one of the best in the world, and he is awesome. And so I've learned a lot of these techniques from him, and he's really down to earth, hillbilly guy, wears a hat, pistol on his side, a knife on the other side. His pendulum is a bullet on a chain. That's what his is. So it's super awesome. He's super cool. So dowsing, what it is, it's an asset to what? Common sense. Also, if you have something that you want to change energetically, you can. So I just want to cover some principles so that you understand how energy works and how powerful we are as human beings on this planet. comes down to law of thermodynamics. Okay? Anyone know some laws of thermodynamics?
I do.
Shoot them out. What are they?
I'm not going to quote it perfectly, but energy can neither be created nor destroyed.
Only transferred. Yep. Energy can not be created nor destroyed, only transferred. So the Earth, everything on this planet, there is as much energy as there will ever be. However, it's stored in certain places, and as Earth moves and does stuff, more energy is available. Hence, volcanoes, earthquakes, things that happen. And so there's a lot of potential energy in the Earth and in the core and the crust and in the universe and everywhere. And a lot of it is not really being used. It's just there. And so as you, as a human being, as your body is the same thing. So you have energy in your body. A lot of it is just being stored, and you're not even using it. It's just waiting to be used. Or negative emotions about money comes in there, and then it starts to form physical elements, and that is what's manifest. It's like the earthquakes and volcanoes in the world. Well, then you get diseases, and it's just your body's way of saying, since you haven't used the energy like you want to, well then, it's got to come out, because it's got to be used, and it comes out in forms of diseases, and frustration, and negative emotions, or, if you choose, in creation, to create whatever you want. So if you don't create, it's got to be used for something. And it usually is destructive. because
I really have a lot of energy.
because the law of entropy, everything is being used in coming to a place of chaos.
I thought that was entropy.
Atrophy. It's atrophying off. Entropy. One of those words. Yeah. I thought it was atrophy. I could be wrong. It's been a little while since I looked at that one. But yeah, everything's in a state of atrophy. Like your muscles even. Like if you don't use them, they get weaker. And if you don't use the energy inside of you, it will manifest as something that is negative. So the key to success is use energy to create and always be in a state of creation and change. Therefore, the energy is not transferred to negative, but it's transferred to positive. So that's kind of the complicated version of how it works. Simplified. So, energy's neither created nor destroyed, only transferred. If it's manifesting in something negative in your life, then it can be transferred into something positive. Simple as that. So whatever you have, whether it's relationships, money, health, anything you can think about, you can change the energy to something positive. Which, if you're scripture people and like religious stuff, that is really powerful. Because if you believe that you are a creator and a child of a heavenly being, I think the main purpose on this planet is not only to have joy, but to learn how to create, to be a creator. And so as I do dowsing and as I use my mind to create things, for me it's a very spiritual experience. It doesn't have to be. Some people do it just who don't have any beliefs, but as they do it more and more, eventually they'll find that there's a source. So it's really powerful. Grab a chart and a pendulum if you don't have one, and then if you desire to contribute to the Diana Fund, she would appreciate it later on. So
That's where this one came from.
awesome. Is that one? Oh, did you get that one last time? Yeah, awesome. So, those are the concepts. Let me just share one more concept. We are matter, right? Everyone understand that concept? We're made of matter. We're made of molecules, atoms, ions, all the stuff. Junky stuff. But we're made of all the crazy stuff. And energy can be impressed upon matter. Okay, so that means thought is energy. And if you have a thought that is either negative or positive, it doesn't matter. The universe doesn't care about what kind of thought, just energy is energy. And so if you have a thought and you think it long enough, it will manifest and imply or impress upon matter. And us being made of matter, we can easily be impressed upon thoughts. So that means you can change things with your thoughts. Example, that cup of water or whatever's in that juice thing, it's made up of molecules, right? Part of it's what, H2O, and then the other parts.
H2O, lemon juice, and carbon monoxide.
Yeah, so it's got some different molecules and substances in there. Now, if I thought long enough into that water, I could alter the state of that water there with my thoughts. I could either choose to think really negative thoughts and make that thing taste very nasty and gross, or I could change it with thinking positive, light, energy, love, and prosperity, and it would taste very, very tasty. And you get that frequency inside of you. Every word, every thought has a frequency. So as you impress upon that matter, it will take upon it that frequency. If you've ever done any studies, we did this at our muscle test class on, oh gosh, I forget the guy's name. Japanese man, he's like Himu.
Water study.
Yeah, he does studies on water. And that is the same principle. That the water had been impressed upon by the surroundings, even thoughts. And then they freeze the molecules and they check how they look. And it's really powerful, the different words and thoughts that form different crystals. Like thoughts of prosperity, like they're all symmetric, they're all beautiful. Thoughts of negativity or where battles have been, they're very jagged and not symmetrical, and it's all over the place. So how much of us is made of water? A lot, 70 to 80% water. So if we are made up of that much water, and I think a thought, I can change who I am inside of me just with altering the water molecules inside of me. So what does this have to do with anything? It means the results you're getting are simply manifested by the thoughts that you think. That's as simple as it is. So if you do not have the health you desire, if you do not have the wealth you desire, if you do not have the relationships you desire, it is simply because the thoughts that you're thinking are not in accordance to the results that you want. This is easy to get. So this tool helps you focus your thoughts and impress upon the matter in a very quick, fast, and efficient way. So you could sit down and meditate for 24 hours wondering, did I do enough? And think like, I'm thinking prosperous thoughts. But you might not know when to stop. Like, when do you know enough's enough? You know, you could sit in a room or a cave or something and be like, I'm going to think positive thoughts. And you might not know, like, you could just be sitting there meditating and you have no idea what the whole point is. Like, when do you know enough is enough, right? And so the point of using pendulums and dowsing, you can use dowsing rods or bobbers, whatever it is. Pendulums are really easy, and so I'm going to teach you with a pendulum. But the point of it is that as you check with a pendulum, you can measure how much energy is going in. And you can determine when enough is enough, so you can move on to something else. So an example that I just did last week, a person in this class actually is, oh gosh, John, what was his name? The Rhodes, Jonathan. He was sitting over here, And he was really allergic to dogs. In his sister's house, they have a dog, and so he'd come in. He could only eat for like 20 years. He had this allergy, and I was in the room with him, and he came in. And he can only stay for 20 minutes before his asthma starts kicking in, and he starts like wheezing, and then he has to leave the room, and it takes about 30, 40 minutes to cool down and clear after he does a puff on an inhaler. And so he comes in. He's there for like 15, 20 minutes, and I'm doing some stuff on people and helping him. He starts going through this motion, and I am wondering, like, what are you doing? Like, what's going on? He's like, oh, I'm allergic to dogs, and he just does this thing. And he's like, oh, well, do you want to switch that? And he's like, what do you mean? Like, yeah, do you want to get rid of that? He's like, yeah, like, well, sure. So I was like, okay. So I pulled out my pendulum, and within 2 minutes, removed it, cleared it, added it, and changed it. And then his breathing immediately after the pendulum stopped, he sighed a heavy sigh, his breathing slowed, he was able to start getting normal air. And the process that takes 20 minutes to clear his lungs, he did inside of the house. And it was as if he had took a puff on his inhaler, and by the time 30 minutes went by, like nothing happened. So you are very powerful. You can change anything. Anything. When I started thinking about this, because I'd done it so much with health, like for me it was no big deal. Allergies, I did that all the time. Food allergies, diseases, you can change. However, I thought, well, at the time, about a year ago, my money wasn't very good. My money situation was pretty much nil. And I was struggling and in debt and didn't have anything to shake a boot at. And so I was like, and wife and a baby on the way, and I'm like, I gotta do something here. And so I thought, well, if everything's energy, and thoughts can be impressed upon matter, and money is energy, and money is matter, and I'm energy and I matter, well, why not impress money upon me so that money comes a little easier? And so then I started altering and changing frequencies to where I would be put on a frequency that attracted the same level of money. And so I got to where 10,000 was pretty easy. So then I thought, okay, well, I'm on that level. Now let me try 100,000. And it took me a year to create over $100,000. And then after I did that, I'm like, okay, well, now my goal is 7 figures. So next year, my goal is to get on the frequency of 1 million. And using this principle of getting on the frequency, but then using common sense of a strategy to actually manifest it, you gotta have both. You know, you can't just sit in the room and be like, I'm gonna attract money and like it's just gonna like materialize. You actually gotta do the effort and the work. So it doesn't replace common sense, but it sure is an asset to it. Like it'll make it a lot easier and a lot less struggle. And I removed all my money blocks, all my curses that were on myself, my family, lots of generational stuff. I checked so many different things to clear all these issues so that I could be more successful. Make sense? So in a nutshell, yeah, go for it.
I've got a book where somebody actually collected quotes by scientists, by energy workers, and by LDS church leaders about energy and from the scriptures, and combined it is fascinating because I know when you first taught us about pendulums and stuff, I thought this is the weirdest thing ever. Okay, it works for you, but I don't know about me. But as I've been, just experimenting with it, and I'm sure you've already said it, you have to do it with the right intentions. It doesn't replace God. It doesn't replace faith. It's just a way to. Anyway, there are so many quotes by LDS church leaders about how our energy is so powerful, and the thoughts of your mind are so powerful. And anyway, it's just fascinating.
You don't need this. When you get more advanced, you don't need it. However, it is nice to measure and to check things and to see your progress, because I like to measure results. In biology, it was really important to get something that says add this, then check it and do an experiment. This allows you to measure it, so it's not just, oh, I think I did something, but you can actually check. Did this thought do something or not? So you guys ready to learn how to do it? Cool. So I'm going to teach you the basics. This pendulum chart, up at the very top is a big circle with a yes. To the left is a no. Okay? Yes up at the top, left over here is the no. Over here to the right is a 10 on the inner circle. We're just going to use this inner circle here, 1 through 10 negative, and negative is on the left, 1 through 10 positive on the right. Okay, make sense? Good. So, who's familiar with muscle testing? Everyone? Okay, so this you can use just like muscle testing. And you can actually use muscle testing in replace of this. So if you wanted to just muscle test, what is the result of pork bacon on my body? Is it positive? And the answer is no. Is it negative? And the answer is yes, because it's strong. And so here I could do the same. What is the overall result of pork bacon on my body? And the pendulum will swing to, it's showing a -3. So pork bacon on my body at this time would be a -3 result on my body. Now with muscle testing, it just said positive, negative, but you can still do it. So once you learn that it's negative, okay, is it -1, 2, 3? 3. So then you double check. So now I know pork bacon is probably not the best for me at this time. So you can check it here, or you can use the test. This is a little faster because you don't have to say, is it positive, is it negative, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10. This you just do it, and it'll swing to whichever one it is, either positive or negative, and it'll go right to it. Now, you have to train your pendulum, okay? It's kind of like the movie How to Train Your Dragon. This is How to Train a Pendulum. It's, you just like, if it doesn't go to where you think it should at first, because you might not know where it would go, but you want to do stuff that you know at first. So like, what's the overall result of me drinking arsenic? It should be a -10. So see how it swung to the left? And it's giving me a -10. Okay. If it went positive, or it's like a -1, you probably need to like train it and say, no, that is very negative. This is what it should be. And if you have to, just take it and swing it that way. And you're programming it, you're training your pendulum and saying, this is the result. This is what I want you to do for me. Then you want to check something that's going to be 100% positive. So as you're checking, you can be like, I always do like, what's the result of me going to the temple affairs? So then I'm like, okay, what's the result of that? And usually it should be a positive 10. Awesome. So you can do food that you know is really good, or what's the result of me drinking the highest quality water on the planet? Should be a positive 10. Things like that. So just to check. So everybody check real quick. Do something that's super extreme that you know will give you a negative or a positive. And so give it a swing, give it some motion. The more swing it has, the easier it can shift. If you barely give it any momentum, it's going to take a lot longer to move. So give it a little swing. And then ask it. First you can say, what is yes? And it should go straight up and down. Then you can say, what is no? And it should shift all the way to the left. And swing to the no. If it goes the opposite way, you program it. And sometimes it's easier just to let gravity, so if you're holding your arm a certain way and your wrist is cocked, you might alter it. But if you can just say, what is yes? what is no. And it'll switch and change. And it'll give you a complete no. Get it? Okay, now go back to yes. Say what is yes. So what is yes and what is no. And then you can say also what is 100% yes. And it should swing the opposite way. Give it a positive 10. And in your mind, the program you should have is I remove any and all judgments and I want to get the results whether I like it or not.
Important caveat.
Yeah. Because you might be like, what's the result of this cheeseburger on my body? Positive 10, all right, woo! But it's pointless. So
Sometimes I close my eyes when I know I want a certain result because I like, okay, I'm not gonna make it go that way. Because my brain can make it go that way.
Yeah, okay.
Just because I
I
want
have
it
to
to
be
go.
unbiased or else
Yeah.
it's going to do that.
yeah, so you gotta come from a state of neutrality, which is the biggest thing that you'll learn dowsing and muscle testing. As you practice, you do this 150, 200 times, you'll start to get to where, oh, I can be neutral, I can be neutral, I can be neutral. And then it just comes, and then it's like, okay, give me a no, and it'll just give you no. And it's like, okay, give me a positive yes, 100%. And it just does it real quick. And after you do it 1,000 to 10,000 times, then it just comes really quick. So it's just practice. It's like any kind of skill. It's okay. You're not alone. The second time you try it, well done.
It was easy for me when I was first trying this, putting it above my palm. There's
Yeah,
energy
so
there.
so here, your palm can represent the chart. So if you hold it like this, the yes is the thumb, straight up down. Positive 100% is this way. Negative 100% is this way. So if you don't have a chart on hand and you just want to check something real fast, it's like, okay, what's the result of me drinking a Jamba Juice with that's pure green one or whatever? And right now it's like positive 7. So I just had a drink, and sometimes they have some sugar in it because it's just food. So I probably eat some protein. But it would be a 10 if some of the other stuff was out. But it's 7's like, oh, that's great. I'll drink it. So getting that, pretty easy to check. Okay, so review, just a program, what is yes, what is no, should give you a big O no. And you can even check what's 100% yes, or 100% positive, should go the opposite way. Use that. And if you get frustrated, it's good.
Big glad you're not my age because when you've lived your whole life thinking that stuff is really weird, it takes a little bit longer to change your brain. So big glad you learned up here. How's that?
Yeah. Everybody getting the gist of it?
Easier.
Okay. So now, if you don't have the gist of it, that's okay. Just follow along because this is bonus and you don't have to use it. You just learn it, open your mind to new concepts. So now, let's just say, let's just test this. Okay, so remember that juice that I checked was like a 7. So let's do something that is healthy for you, but that might not be quite like a 10. Something that might have some sugar or something that
Peanut butter.
peanut butter. So check certain brand of peanut butter that you eat. So the question is, what's the result of XYZ on your body. With that question, you can check almost anything. Super cool. What's the result of me sticking my finger in the socket over there? It's not positive. Wow. It's like a -4. So, -5. So, what's the result of me standing out in the cold for 3 hours? It's just neutral. So I guess that doesn't matter. So
handle the cold a lot better than me.
I thought it was going to go negative, but it didn't. Probably because I do stuff. Probably like exercise. So you can just check all sorts of cool stuff just to see what the result would be. For decisions, you can make, like, what's the result of me signing up for this mentoring package? What's the result of me doing this? What's the result of me working with this person? What's the result of, just check the result. And that alone, that question, you can check a ton of different things. And then what I highly suggest people to do is you can muscle test and then verify with prayer. So you have a triple check. So it's like, okay, it comes out that it's a +9 to work with this person. Awesome. How am I feeling about it? I'm feeling like it's good. Okay, pray, verify, great. I'm going to work with this person. Don't care whatever it takes. I'm going to figure it out. That's how I make a lot of my decisions, is based off of checking and then verifying and making sure it's all in concordance. So I know a lot of people who go off of emotion and then they get deceived because it's like, oh, I'm so excited, I'm going to do this thing, I feel inspired. And then they sign up for a huge thing or they do something that's over their head and then they weren't ready. It just wasn't the right time. And so they didn't check, they didn't ask, they didn't verify. And so it's easy to be deceived by emotion if you just let emotions dictate your choices. Make sense? Any questions so far?
I got a +4 on a cheeseburger right now.
Woohoo! Yeah. Depends what kind of cheeseburger you get, what kind of bread, and what kind of
I'm a
bun.
little confused too, because I got a +4 on suicidal thoughts.
So that means you're not doing it right.
I'm like,
So
that needs to be over here.
yeah, so you program it. Say that. So it should be suicidal thoughts should be like a -10, -9, -10. Because they're not good at all for your soul. So here, do this for me. Tap right here. Tap right here. Like this. Now switch hands. Switch hands again. Switch hands again. Okay, good. Now check again.
What does that do?
Sometimes if your left and right brain's off, your coordination's off, and you'll get opposites of where you're going.
Just wanted to make
I
that
took the cheeseburger.
It keeps going up the scale of positivity.
Where did you check it at?
Where did I check it at?
Because you should always start from.
Yes.
Okay.
And it went past and kept going.
Okay, so if it goes past, you stop it. It only goes this far. Because that's the only scale you have. There is no nothing past that. 10 to 90%.
Positive.
So that's how you do it. Okay? So we're gonna teach you some scrambling and adding. And then we're gonna do some stuff with money and different stuff. Cool. So that's just how to check yes and no's and results. Okay? If the pendulum thing's not working for you, don't worry. Do muscle testing. Okay? So is it positive? Is it negative? Is it positive? Negative? Okay, it's negative. Is it positive? Okay, it's positive. Great. So then you can check on the scale. 0 to 10, 10 being the best. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And it should give you a positive 10. That's the good thing. Okay. So now we're going to teach you how to scramble and add. This is the fun stuff. Alright. So remember, energy cannot be created nor destroyed, only transferred. So if you got some negative energy, if you got some energy that isn't quite where you want it to be, you can scramble certain aspects of whatever might be affecting it. So like the thoughts, even you being in a state where you're not getting the answers. So I'm just going to check. What's the overall state of your brain at this time? And I'm getting only a positive 1, so that means stuff is affecting me. So then, okay, well, it's good that it's not negative. What's the overall blood flow to your brain? 0 to 10, 10 being the highest. And I'm getting positive 2, so it should be at 10. So blood flow to your brain makes it to where your oxygen is getting into where you can't think clearly and you can't get proper answers. So what we're going to do is we're going to remove, and I'm just going to do it for the whole group. I'm going to so scramble. If you're going to scramble or remove, it's going to spin counterclockwise. Okay? Yeah. So looking at me, it'll actually be this way.
Yeah, it's the same.
So counterclockwise goes this way. Okay? Counterclockwise. That is to scramble, remove, or get rid of the negatives. Okay? If you want to add and positive add anything, it'll spin clockwise. That's going to add. Make sense? Pretty simple. Remove, counterclockwise, add, clockwise. Yep. Okay, so here. So with the blood flow to the brain, we're going to scramble any and all negative energies that are affecting your blood flow to the brain. And we're going to work on everyone here in the room. I'm just doing it for you guys, but so we're just going to remove any blocks energetically, emotionally, chemically that are keeping your blood from getting to your brain. Some of you will feel stuff when this is working. Done. Stop. Okay, so now you can check again. What's the overall blood flow to your brain now that we remove these blocks? And I'm getting a 7 or 8. Way huge shift. So now we're going to add and make the connections to where we're just going to balance all the blood flow to your brain and get the proper amount. And everyone in the room, I'm putting it on differently. So we're just going to add and balance the blood flow to your brains.
Excuse us, we're dowsing.
You must have felt it.
She's like, I want to be in that room. My blood flow wants to be.
And then once it's done, and you stop. So how many of you can think a little bit more clearly just from doing that process?
It's kind of spinning.
Okay. Interesting. So then we can check what's the overall connection between the left and right hemisphere for your head. And it's negative. So now that the blood flow is going, It's just not connected.
Yeah.
So we're going to reconnect and balance the left and right hemispheres. Okay. So now that your left and right hemisphere is balanced, that's great. Now we're just going to check what's the overall state of your nervous system. And I'm just checking on you. Slightly negative. So we're going to scramble, and I'll just do it for the group. So scramble goes which way?
Left.
Counterclockwise.
Sorry.
So we're going to scramble. I'm going to work on the nervous system. I'm going to scramble any and all negative energies, influences, also pathogens, bacteria, viruses, funguses. Scramble any pain.
So why scramble and not remove? What's the difference here?
Doesn't matter. Just how you. In my mind, I'm actually taking that energy and I'm scrambling it, and it's coming over here. And then we're going to do something with it afterwards. So all that energy I'm piling up over here. And I'm just removing, scrambling the negative effects of our belief systems, also that of the emotional beliefs that we have towards change. I'm going to scramble any and all. I'm going to remove any personal curses that you've placed upon yourself of physical ailments regarding your nervous system and pains that you believe you have to have as part of your identity. We're going to lift those. Remove any and all generational curses that have been placed upon you by your ancestors on your mom's side or on your dad's side. Back as far as we can go. And lift those that are placed upon our nervous systems and our physical health. And I'm also going to remove okay, and I'm just going to have Heavenly Father send His angels and take away any and all negative energy or entities that might be affecting our health that we have allowed to come in and take them, do what they do, and improve. And then I'm going to, let's see what else do we want to do. We're also going to remove any and all negative DNA. Any offsets of the telomeres for certain DNA strands that have been
Damaged or short.
damaged or shortened or mutated. I'm just going to scramble that. love, repair the damaged DNA, make it to homeostasis where it should be. Lengthen telomeres. I'm also going to add forgiveness, light, in our central nervous system, peripheral. Rebalance the blood flow as well as the cellular strength of blood cells that are going. And bring those to homeostasis. We're also going to instill upon us the ability to heal properly, and easily and quickly, and painlessly. I'm going to scramble now. Listening to me. I'm going to scramble any imbalances in the giving and receiving cycle regarding health and also wealth. Whether they be limiting beliefs, negative emotions, generational inherited genes, or belief systems, whatever it might be. We're going to scramble and remove those negative blocks that are giving our giving. So now we're going to balance our giving and receiving cycle to where we give and receive in a positive way, light, energy. So now I'm spinning the opposite way because I'm adding balance. Done. Awesome. So that was a lot of stuff. That was cool. How do you guys feel?
Feels like it's a bit rocky, but yeah.
Well, that
Processing.
processing. Anyone feel stuff while we're doing that? Anyone not feel anything? How'd you do?
Well, there was a little bit, it was subtle. Clarity, kind of sense of
Cool. So if you probably believe that it'll work, it will. If you don't, it probably won't. Comes down to your belief and your intention. And as you start to learn to master your body, and your emotions, and your health, and what's going on, it is a huge shift in the success, the relationships, and the wealth that you'll have. And if you still have stuff going on, a good technique is called a FO hold, and you can just put your forehead, hand here, right hand here, and in the back. You take a deep breath in. I choose to accept
I choose to accept
all that is good.
all that is good.
Take a deep breath in through your nose. And I reject all that is negative that is affecting me.
Reject all that is negative.
And you can just do that anytime and just kind of center yourself and bring yourself back down to earth. doing something weird. And so that just helps to reground. How are you doing? Still dizzy?
Yeah.
What's the dizziness? Swirling?
Swirling, not feeling like I'm.
What's happening now? How's it doing? How are you now? Okay. You wanna know what I did?
No.
Okay. So so this is kind of weird. Your spirit was not in this dimension, and so I brought it back. And then I put forgiveness into your spirit and body, because what happens is your body is so sick that your spirit does not like it. And it goes away and it pains. So I just asked to come back, and as it did, the pain came, and so then I just had forgiveness and with your body and spirit.
Sorry.
Yeah, kind of interesting, huh? So there's a lot of things that you might not have thought about, but it makes perfect sense. Like if you think about why do people occur pain? What happens when people have such bad elements? Literally, your spirit does not like your body. And it's like, why do I want to live in this tabernacle? And I don't know what other dimension it is, but it just works. So I just do it. So I don't know. But if you just invite it back, it seems to work. Body code, they do a thing similar to it. Dr. Bradley, he had a thing where it just is a spirit-body disconnect, where it's either your spirit chooses to leave it or your body, one or the other. So you just bring it back, you figure out the connection, and percentage-wise, and you bring it back, and there could be some underlying themes that are causing it. So if you really wanted to hold it, then you'd go back and address the underlying issues that are causing that spirit-body disconnect, and then it wouldn't reoccur. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So.
Well, one of the thought of it.
Yeah.
Cool. Does that weird anybody out at all?
Not at all.
Okay. How about you?
Oh, I just think it's really interesting that our culture doesn't. Our culture has a spirit body.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what do you think is going on? You can actually look into people's eyes, and the process we did yesterday was really powerful. You can tell some people who are disconnected by looking into their eyes.
That was an interesting thing that I noticed because I was going around and was kind of like, what's wrong with me? Because like every person I look into their eyes, their eyes are just like well up with tears and like all this stuff. But it's like I was feeling the love, but I wasn't connecting with the person. And it was emotional. I'm like, okay, am I just like,
Am I just like half here?
I'm like,
Yeah.
Literally.
what's going on?
And you've got some heart walls. Have you ever addressed any heart walls?
Try to.
Yeah. So there seems to be a little bit more. And by removing that, you'll be able to connect better. Because what happens is just with trauma, with things that you've been through, you just build up some heart walls. That's normal. Everybody does. And then you just clear it, remove it, and then tap it. You get that connection. Like, oh my gosh, I'm alive. You look at the people and just ball.
I love you so much. I'm not afraid to look into you.
Yeah. Super fun.
Okay, so Tyler, how are you doing that? Like, are you just tuning into her energy, or do you have a specific thing that you ask her spirit?
Oh, I just asked.
How did you know where to start?
Because she told me some of her health stuff.
Okay,
And most people who have celiac and all these crazy stuff,
have disconnected
if
by
it goes into a deep thing that's been reoccurring for a while, think about it. If my spirit had that, I wouldn't want to be with me.
right?
Like if I have this stuff going
This
on,
pain.
yeah. I've worked with a lot of people. Like my dad, he had chronic back pain, and he'd have a disconnect, and I would check what it was from, and it was a disconnect because of the pain. And he even mentioned, he's like, yeah, I do disconnect because it's too much. Like, why would I want to feel the pain? So I've got to
Leave.
leave.
So is there a such thing as like a part of your spirit leaving, not the whole thing? Like
Yeah,
it's
if your
called
whole thing
fragmentation?
left, you'd be dead. Right?
I guess, yes.
Yeah.
That would make sense.
Yeah. So I'm not quite sure, like, I don't know all the science behind it.
Yeah,
You can
because I've
probably
heard
check.
it. Someone told me
How
I had
much of my
work
spirit
done,
is-
and they said you fragmented because of
Yep.
some pain.
Yeah,
You've
yeah.
had.
Like, is my spirit whole and complete? 0 to 10, 10 being the best. Where is my spirit this time?
Wow.
Check.
And then you just
I've just been studying brain function, and some of the brain scans that they do where there's absolutely it looks like there's holes in your brain, but really there's places in your brain where there's no action.
Yep.
There's either really hyper action or no action at all, and so it makes it look like there's holes in the brain. And, there may be something similar to that in your
that would be
Spirit,
associated with
or
the part of
something
your
that connects
spirit
with your
that
spirit.
yeah, that's fragmented.
The whole point, though, of all this is that there's a solution to everything. You never have to be a victim. Because if you ever get to a place where you say, I have this disease, therefore I'm this way, you have given up your free agency. And you have become a slave to that very thing. And that is something that I do not want ever to happen to people. I want people to be empowered. I don't ever want to hear people say, I've got this disease, therefore I'm stuck this way forever. I think it's a bunch of bull. Someone told you that, so therefore you believed them.
Did you ever see the YouTube video of the veteran? The veteran, he had walkers. What are those called? A little walker. It's like a walker, but there's two. It's not
to his arm.
Oh, like
It's
Star Wars? The one.
seriously.
Oh, sorry. Oh, not that YouTube video? Sorry, I didn't see that one.
You watch the Star Wars ones. Okay, I get it. Okay, well, back in the other world of other YouTube videos, there's this veteran gentleman who has the canes type of thing, and he has been told that he will never walk again. Like, he'll never be able to walk fully and functionally. And then he met with the yoga guy, and
Oh, yeah,
this yoga guy worked with him, and
You just did
by the
yoga,
end of the video, he had lost tons of weight. He was standing upright. He had lost need for the canes, and he was actually running.
Yep.
And they had
Oh.
told him he couldn't do it.
That yoga guy was a wrestler, professional,
Yeah.
professional wrestler.
And then he
His
went.
name's,
He served in the army.
Yeah, I forget his name. Something Payne. Or,
That's fitting.
yeah, that's what.
Wow.
But now he
That's
became a
an awesome
yoga healer. And
Wow.
so,
Yeah. Like he could barely even stand up and balance himself
Yeah,
at the beginning,
yeah.
and by the end, he was standing on his head.
and he was very determined.
Totally.
He went through, fell, and all crazy stuff.
Over and over and over again.
So the thing I want you to know about, the reason why I love dowsing so much is because it is the #1 tool that can help you empower yourself. If you ever feel like you're in a position where you feel like helpless, remember, Everything is energy. You can change it. If your business is not where you want it to be, if your health is not where you want it to be, if your relationship with your spouse is not where you want it to be, you can change it. Period. And as soon as you get to that point where it's like, oh, but you have become a victim. You have given up your free agency and said, I am now a victim and I cannot change. And that is when you are susceptible to entities. Why do people get curses and entities? Because they give them permission. And the moment you step into victimization is the moment that you say, I'm no longer a creator, therefore whatever happens, happens. And there's little boogers waiting to hop aboard. They want to sabotage our success. And so the moment that you give in to that junk is when they're ready to jump in. I imagine it like this. We have like this bubble, a force field around us. And they're all outside of us. They're everywhere. They're everywhere trying to just do their little stuff. And the moment that we have a negative thought that says, oh, but I can't, it's like popping a little spot, a little hole, and then one of them's like, woohoo, party! And they jump in and they're like, I'm gonna have a little heyday. And that is where I feel like the disconnection happens. And why people have spills happen is because they give permission to doing it. Now, some things lead to that, like your physical health. If you have a pathogen that affects your health, it can make it harder to focus. And then if you still give in to that thought, though, that's when the little boogers come. And you're like, dang it, now I gotta remove that junk too. And so it just makes it more work. So it's like, why do that? Like, less work is better. And so the more that you know that you can change, the better. As you decide that it's like, oh my gosh, I have this headache. Instead of thinking, oh, this headache just won't go away, it's affecting my life. I am going to scramble the negative effect that this headache has upon me. I'm going to remove the pain. I'm going to scramble any and all negative energies that are, or disbeliefs that are affecting this headache. I'm going to scramble the tension in my shoulders that are triggering the muscles that are stimulating this headache. I'm going to scramble the feeling that I have to carry the world or that this is too overwhelming. And you just start being in control of your life. And you scramble it. And if you aren't in a state where you can even focus, then you EFT it. Even though I can't think very straight right now, or I'm foggy-headed, and I can't, and I have this headache, and it's immobilizing me, and I can't feel this way. I deeply and completely love and accept myself, and forgive myself. Forgive my head, and forgive this pain. Then you go through it, this pain, this headache, this pain, it's in my right ear, my right ear, right. You just describe it specifically. And then you recheck. It'll go up, down, nothing. And it'll show. Because you are in control of all that happens to you. Now, oh, Tyler, but what if somebody does something to you that affects you? You're still in control of how you react and how you receive. So if your giving and receiving cycle is wacky, you're going to receive it as a victim. You're going to become a victim and say, oh, but they did it to me. And you're going to give them your agency. That's the same thing. And so a big part of why I'm teaching this is to empower the people to be creators and be in charge of their own success. You must take control because no one else will for you. You can go to facilitators and help them. You know, that's why it's good to get a mentor, someone who knows what they're doing so they can teach you. But my goal is to empower the person to do it themselves. And I've had to invest a lot of money to figure this out. Like if I just, somebody just told me to figure it out, it's like, I don't know how to do it, no one ever taught me. But that's why you're here, that's why you're at this class. And that's why we'll always be learning and growing, because there's more. There's always more. And the more you can learn about, a friend!
Hi, welcome, welcome.
This is Marilee. Everybody say, hey Marilee.
Hey, Mary.
This is my wife's sister. So this is so important. Is this soaking in? Am I getting my point across?
This is so cool.
Because I really want you to take control of your life. And it's okay to have a facilitator for a while, to have a mentor. But I want you to know that, like, no matter what, you can change it. And if you have the thought, but what about this? You're still in victimization. That's why. And as soon as you get rid of that thought of but what, and say, you know what, I'm going to be in a place of neutrality, and I'm just going to give it a try. I am actually going to just try to change the things that are happening. Then you will have the power to make those shifts. If dowsing or muscle testing or tapping or whatever doesn't work, it's simply because you haven't come to a point where you're ready to change. As soon as people are ready to change, it works so fast, so quick. There's some people, I can do this, I can muscle test, I can do all this work, will have no phase, no change whatsoever. Some people in my family who, no matter what I do, it's not going to work. Just, they're not ready. They have not decided that they're ready to take control of their life. And they're looking for outside answers, and they will continue to look. And yes, it hurts inside. But I have worked on myself to get out of the savioritis mode, where I have to save everyone. That has been a lifelong journey. From the age of stinking 12, and before probably. When my parents went through the divorce, I had to save everything. Then the next divorce, and the next divorce. And when I went to court for them, it was my job to save everything. I was the mediator. I would literally, my mom would say, Tyler, go tell your dad this. And I'd say, okay. And then, oh, go tell your mom this. And it was red and blue. And I was like, oh my gosh, no one's right. I can't trust anyone. The world is green. Dang it. And that's what I got in my head. And so I learned, number one, conversation is bad. Anyone who wants to converse with me means there's contention and I'm in trouble. So when I married Emily, her whole world revolved around conversation. Like, turned my world upside down. And it was a struggle. Because she'd be like, hey, Tyler, let's talk. And I'm like, wow. Inside of me, I was like, no, my whole life I have been the mediator. And so I'm either going to have to mediate for something, or I'm going to have to save something, or it's my fault. And that was what I had going on inside of me. And so as I started shifting this stuff, and instead of being offensive, I tried to humble myself and say, okay, I know it's got to be me. And I've got to change. And so I would receive what she was saying. She's like, for some reason, when I try to talk to you, you come at me and attack me. And I was like, oh, dang it. I'm repeating the same cycles that I saw my parents do. And so then I would change it. And I would change it energetically. And then I would change it verbally. And I would practice. I'd be like, okay, how do I talk? And it was like I was a toddler. Because I didn't know how to communicate. And as I started to share my message, the same thing showed up. When I would communicate with my clients, they would feel like I was pushy or offensive or like it was not good. And as I started to change, people actually started to want to invest in me because I became an okay person to be around. Like it was like, hey, that was actually kind of cool now. He's not like, oh, don't talk to him. They're like, bah, get ya. And even though I didn't do that because my personality is very like calming and peaceful, inside and my being, my presence showed that. I would not talk. I would just turn off. And that was a turn off. I wasn't connecting to people. Does that make sense? So as I shifted this, like what I'm teaching you works. I know because I've been there. I know because I've taken many people through this process, and it all comes down to personal power. Who you are and saying, I am responsible for my results and I am ready to change now. No more waiting, no more excuses. I am going to change and I'm going to do it now. And I'm going to do whatever it takes. And I went out, I would go to town on myself, Ninja Warrior style. And I would go, I would shift, I would tap, I would write, I would burn, I would do everything I knew to communicate, to get that stuff out so that I could clearly communicate. And I'm still working on it. And I'll probably always be working on it. But I'm progressing. I'm getting better every day. And I would go out into the woods and I would give myself pep talks for an hour. My come to Jesus moments that some of you have heard, where I literally tell myself, I am going to change. And I commanded my body to obey. And I commanded my spirit and my body to unite and to work together. Because I had a lot of disconnections. And so I would get very, very intense with myself. As if my life depended on it. Because it did. As if my marriage depended on it. Because it did. As if my eternal perspective and rewards depended on it. Because they do. And so in that moment, you must get to a point where you are so ready to change that it's more than breath itself. And when you get to that point, energy work works. Because it's all intention. You don't need this anymore. It just works. When you're feeling off, you just speak it or think it, and it happens. And that is the point where we're working towards, where it can just manifest when I desire it. And as you're doing this, as you're stepping into creation and creator and who you are as a human being and an individual, you are going to be a light to many people who are in need, who are seeking answers, who have been suffering for a long time and are waiting for a way out. And so it's my job, I gotta go first. Because I've seen too much suffering in my life, with my family, and I am done with that. This life is not to suffer, it is to have joy, to have an incredible life. And will there be suffering? Yes. But how are you going to respond to that suffering? Can suffering be a joyous experience? Yeah, it can. Can your pain be something that is a triumph? Yes, it can. Can the worries and frustrations around you turn into prosperity and love? Yes, it can. Because after this life, I believe we're going to give an accountability for every disease that we had, of what we did with it. I believe we're going to give accountability of every single dollar we had and what we did with it. I believe we're going to give accountability of everything. Because everything is just to learn and grow. So Tyler, how'd you do with that divorce? So Tyler, how did you do with that time that you fell into pornography? So Tyler, how'd you do with that time that you didn't have any money? Did you let money rule your life? Or did you still trust me? And I believe I'm going to, that for me, I'm just saying this is what I feel is my personal belief, but I'm going to give an accountability of everything. I don't know about you, but for me, like that's, at first that kind of scared the crap out of me because I was like, ah. But then I was like, you know what, life is fun, and I'm just going to live it and have fun, and change, and change, and change, and change. And as I learn to give a better accountability with my time, with my money, with my relationships, with my mind, what I watch, what I listen to, everything, and I hold myself to that accountability level, I'm able to change faster. And when I fall, I get right back up. I'm a quick person to change. And I make a lot of mistakes, just like my wife. But I get back up on the boat. She'll tell you, she's like, he's fast at changing. If he makes a mistake, and he makes a lot of them, but he'll come back. One of my favorite quotes, I was listening to this motivational speech. Sometimes I do it in the mornings of a workout, just because I love hearing good things. It's this, I forget his name, but he's this black guy, and I love how he taught us. He's like, not Les Brown, one of the others, kind of like Les Brown, but he's like, I'm coming back. And it's super cool because it's during a time where he's like talking about all the stuff that's happening, and his voice is just ingrained. And if I ever fall, it's like, I'm coming back. And I just think, even when I was playing racquetball and I was like down 20 points, it was like 15. I was like, I'm coming back. And then I did. Because it's just that moment of saying, I am not a victim, I can change. Athletes. And he teaches athletes. And it's all about change. Like, if you want to change, you can change. I don't care how far down you have been or where you're at. You can change. And I don't know if you've gotten, like, I'm actually putting this word out a little bit these past couple days. Change, 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 change. You can change. Like, it is possible and you can do it. And it can happen now. Not tomorrow, not next hour, not even within 10 minutes. It is a decision that we must make and say, I am changing now. And that to me is the most powerful thing, to know that you can change. Think about it. What is damnation? It's when you can't change.
The message of the atonement is I can change.
Yeah. And when I learned that, when I was really struggling through addictions and trying to like figure it out, the feeling that I had was, I can't change. Like, I'll try, but then I'll fall back. Or I'll do something and then it'll not work. And it was almost as if something out there didn't want me to change. I don't know. Maybe there's an opposition in the world. But it was like, man, as I was thinking about it, and as I saw all this chaos, I thought, I have to have just this stuff, and I can't change. And then I got to where I was just getting so much energy, so many things moving in my life, that if I didn't change, I'd explode. Literally. Like, I had so much energy because I was doing so much work, that if I didn't change, I would either, like, explode of, like, not changing, or I would change. And I didn't explode, so I think everyone can change.
Thank you for not exploding.
Yeah. So I think if you just put in the energy, you will change. Because I don't think you're going to explode. I've tested it out a couple times, but, you know? So it's just do it. Decide and change. So how many of you are going to change?
Woo!
Awesome. That is the most powerful message I can share today, is change.
Did you record that?
Yes. And whatever you do, decide that you are ready. And if you see someone else with the result that you have, make the decision, that's easy. I can do that too. I can change just like that. When I would go and invest, and I still do this, but I see somebody who's doing something that I like, or that I want to be like, I used to say, oh, kind of envious, like, I wish. And then I thought, as I even speak that, as I think about that I wish. I am giving up my agency and saying, they're better and I can't be like that. And then I started switching it and said, that's super easy. I can do that. In fact, I'm not right now. And my mentor, one of my mentors, Ted McGrath, the time that I was really struggling financially and I couldn't make a sale because I didn't think I could, and I tried and I kept failing and it was just not working very well, I saw him do a webinar and I invested in it. And the moment was, there was a test, another money test, and I made it. Found a way, had to do it. And I did it, and in my heart, I was like, I want to speak like he does. Because how he speaks makes me want to change. And so I did, I invested. Then when I went and saw him live, I was like, dang, he is very powerful, influential, gets a lot of people to change. And I thought, instead of saying, I wish, or oh, if only I could be like that, as I was sitting there watching him, I said, that's super easy. In fact, I think I can do that better. And I got a little bit of like competition in me. And I was like, you know what? That's awesome. I can do that. In fact, I'm that right now. And so he offered something for like $100,000, and I was like, I'm in, I'm gonna do it. I had no idea how that guy was gonna do that because I never even created. I created 10% of that once. And I was like, okay. But I knew what was right, and I knew how bad I wanted to change, and I was willing to do anything to make it happen. And so I decided to step up, and I was like, I am ready to change. And as I started to speak to people, and as I started to do the things, now people look at me and they're like, oh, you look like you've been presenting forever. Yeah, if you would have seen me 12 months ago, not the same, because I changed. And I have changed so much that where I didn't know how to sell anything within 3, let's say January, February, March, April, May, June, July. From not selling anything to 4 months later, helping my mentor do $1.3 million in sales in 2 weeks. And I was on his sales team, and he picked me out of thousands of people because I change quickly. And I sold $30,000 packages, $100,000 packages, $10,000 packages, and over the phone, people I'd never even met. And I could never even have fathomed that. But because I saw someone else doing it, instead of saying, oh, one day, I said, no, I'm going to do that now. Put it on my vision board. I'm going to sell a $30,000 package. Next week, it took me 3 weeks, got that thing off. It wasn't my package. Then I was like, hey, maybe I should go. I sell my $30,000 package. So then I got that one off. And I'm like, okay, cool. And just keep working it. Keep changing, keep growing, keep changing. Don't ever be a victim to your circumstances. When I hear victim words come out of people's mouth, I get a little ticked inside because I know that they are being a slave, that they are living a lie that they created. And my old self would have wanted to save them. Now I want to give them a pep talk and be like, do you know what you are doing? Oh my goodness! You are killing yourself with those words and thoughts. Do you want to change or do you want to stay that way? Because if you want to stay that way, great. Keep doing what you're doing. But if you're ready to change, I would love to help. I would love to help you shift. Are you ready? And it's all about them. It has nothing to do with me anymore. It's if they're ready, they'll do it. They'll step up. And as I am distancing myself from being the savioritis thing that I had, like I gotta save everybody, results are working better. So you, as a healer, as a mentor, as a trainer, you've got to step out of that place of it's up to me to save them, and hey, I've got the tools and the know-how, and do this. I'll be there to hold your hand and guide you and love you, but it's up to you to change. I cannot change you. It is up to you 100%. I'm going to provide the environment where it feels safe to change, where it's easy to change. I'm going to give you the knowledge and know-how, but it still comes down to your decision. Are you going to change? And when you empower people with that, there is nothing of this planet or not of this planet that can faze you. One of the most powerful things that we have is the ability to choose. And you choose whatever it is you want. And you know this. You've been taught this since you were little. But now it's time to actually apply it and see that it applies in every aspect of your life. So if you do not have a result that you're looking for, simply look, what do I need to choose to change? Because there is a decision that you have made in your life that needs to change to get a new result. Somewhere down the road, whether you're a little kid, somebody told you something, parents didn't do something to you or did something to you, and there was a choice that you made, probably unconsciously, but you still made that decision of your own free will and choice. And you must decide that it's like, oh, so now, since I made that then, I can change now. And you simply switch it. And in the very moment that you decide, a new result happens. Instantly. That is the power of change. Instantly. There is an energetic result that happens. You might not see the money right then and there. You might not see the health right then and there. You might not get that relationship right then and there. But as you stick to it and say, no, I am going to change. I don't care what it takes, how long it takes. And I decide how long. Right now, actually. Why wait? And as you do that and step into this place of power, you are going to create an amazing change and transformation in your life from wherever you're at. Some of you, this class, it's like having a cup of water. Some of you, your cups were full before you got in here, and you just needed one little thing to like get the transformation. And if that's you, then this next 2 days is going to be huge, because you're going to feel like this was the missing piece, because you've been filling your cup with other things, and you just need that one more thing. For some of you, your cups may have been empty, and this class might fill it a quarter or halfway up. And then you might need something else from someone else, or you might need to continue with us, wherever you resonate with. But everyone has their cup. And as you look, as you're training, as you're learning, I just imagine this, because when I'm learning stuff, sometimes I'll get these huge epiphanies, while everybody else is just like, ugh. And I know, oh, it's because my cup was here, and for them it's like, oh, something kind of here. Sometimes other people get huge epiphanies, and I'm like, no big deal. It's because my cup was here, and theirs was full. That was the last piece they needed to like get their transformation. So as we're going through the class, as we're going to be teaching some really cool things about money, I want you to think about where your cup is and allow yourself to receive more. If it's too full, just take a sip on it and give some to other people, and just let it overflow as you're learning. Okay? Cool? Any questions? I know you had a comment, or someone had a comment or a question before, but I kept going.
We answered it later.
Okay. Any questions about that? Okay. Give me some feedback so I know I just didn't like speak to the walls.
The heart wall?
Yeah.
I got a few of those.
Well, I've just become a lot more aware of the things I say to myself. That, oh, I can't, but I can because of this. And it's really interesting to go back and forth, even like while you were talking in the last 15 minutes. Like, yes, I can do this. Yes, I can change. I've already seen myself change, and then, but I can't because of this, or just oscillating back and forth.
Awesome. And for you, is that empowering? Going back and forth? Like, are you ready to decide that it's team time?
Yes. Well, I know that there are still things. There's no reason I shouldn't.
So are you going to decide?
Yeah.
What's your decision?
I'm going to change
Wait.
now.
Cool. Good to hear it. Okay, cool. Give some more feedback. What's going on in your head?
So you're going, thank you for tying it into the gospel. One of those that was in the past a huge struggle because I let it. And then just hear you put that, I was like, no, I have the evidence piling up in front of me. I'm just unwilling to accept it.
Awesome. So what does that mean for you?
It's easy to teach people
About
change.
cool. And in order to teach them, what are you going to do?
I have to change.
Yeah, but
And when are you going to change? Awesome.
Oh, good job.
Cool. What else?
I think this is actually the first moment that I finally hit me that I can change. I don't have to be a slave to what all of my victimization has created for me. And that I can choose to change now. And that's what I want.
And you have a beautiful gift inside of you that you need to use because people are looking for that. And as you decide to change, you're going to be able to bless a lot of people with that gift. As you step into that place of power, you're going to find that you can impact hundreds of thousands of people's lives.
You have no idea how much he and my husband have been telling me this for the last year. So
So your cup was almost full.
I neglect this last little drop.
Well, it's an honor to be that old drop, so glad. Awesome. There we go. Beautiful. What's going on in your guys' heads?
Right?
Cheryl just walked into the end of it.
Woo! Soak it up.
Yeah.
I love, like, being around you. It is so true, like, what you're teaching you to truly live. Like, it doesn't matter what people, I suffer with this, and you're like, oh, I'll change it. I'm like, what? You can change that, Tyler? You can change that she has PTSD or this or that or the other? Oh, yeah. Do you want to change it? I'm like, how are you doing that? Like, we get into this place where we just accept that, this is what I have, this is who I am, this is, and you're like, oh crap.
I want to do a class one day called Label Breakers, and where I just go in and list all of the diseases. As a doctor of natural medicine, I went through the book of all of the diseases in the disease book. I don't even remember what it's called, but it's like, there's like 7 volumes of it. And according to the book, every person in here, especially you, has ADD.
Thanks a lot.
If you wiggle, if you wiggle, according to the book, you have ADD.
If you wiggle.
If you wiggle,
Oh my gosh.
that
As a
is
human being.
that every person on the planet has ADD, according to the book.
Wow.
You go to any of the doctors who diagnose. You can go to 7 different ones, and they will give you 7 different diagnoses.
Dang. Because they're seeing through their own glasses too.
Well, because it's just a label. My nose itches. Oh, so you have this.
It could be this.
It is so
I think it's this.
Yeah,
itchy nose-itis.
yeah. And it just like blows my mind. When I started studying that, I was like, whoa, this is insane. And I just wanted to like take the book and like, oh my goodness, are you for real? We are being slaves to this. And as I was studying this and thinking about all the labels that I had put on myself, I thought, no more am I going to label myself. No more am I going to give my power to a name that someone else has created. No more am I going to say, oh, I can't because I have this. Like, I don't care where I will be physically. Even if my eyes were poked out, I would still be doing something. Because I do not want to ever give in to what other people say. And that is my personal responsibility to do this. And I believe that as everyone steps into this place of power, they will shift as well. And there's going to be 2 divides. Those who are ready to say, I am a creator and I'm going to change, and those who say, I am a victim and I need help and medication. And so you decide, like, what are you going to be? And I want to see a lot more over here, because a lot of these people in this room especially have amazing gifts that need to be shared with the world. And in order to impact the world, you've got to start with the person next to you. You've got to start with your neighbor, your kids, your loved ones, your spouses, whoever it is in your life.
Okay, so you know what I see this as? Literally, you're giving us, like in Dumbo, he has that feather that he can fly, and he discovers, and the very last thing you said, you're like, eventually, you don't even need this. Like, this is our I take control of my life tool, and eventually, we won't need this to know that, oh, I'm accountable for me.
Cool.
That's awesome.
I love it.
Now I have Dumbo songs in my head.
Awesome.
Yeah, the girl one.
Cool. So are we past bonus time? What time is it?
Yeah.
It's 10 after 12 hours.
Whoa. All right. Well, let's end this thing.